For over 5,000 years, this land has given birth to empires, saints, warriors, and revolutions. From the Indus Valley to the Mauryas, from the Mughals to the freedom fighters, India's story is not just history, it is the story of civilization itself. This is the entire history of India told in one journey. India's history is one of the longest and richest in the world, beginning thousands of years ago along the banks of the Great Indus River. Around 3300 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization flourished with cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These were not ordinary settlements, they were advanced urban centers with straight roads, drainage systems, and even public baths. The people of this civilization traded with distant lands like Mesopotamia, wore fine jewelry, and carved mysterious seals with undeciphered symbols. Life here seemed organized and peaceful, but by 1500 BCE, the civilization mysteriously declined. Scholars argue whether it was because of climate change, shifting rivers, or invasions, but the truth remains one of history's great puzzles. After the fall of the Indus Valley, a new era began. The Indo-Aryans arrived, bringing with them sacred hymns and rituals that formed the foundation of the Vedic age. This was a time when Indian society shifted from cities to villages, and oral traditions shaped culture. The four Vedas, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda were composed, filled with hymns, philosophies, and prayers. Concepts such as karma, dharma, and moksha emerged, shaping India's spiritual foundation. But society also became more divided as the caste system began to take root. By 600 BCE, many powerful kingdoms had formed across the land, known as the Mahayanapadas, setting the stage for empires to rise. One kingdom, Magadha, grew stronger than the rest. Fertile lands and iron-rich resources gave it power, and out of Magadha rose Chandragupta Maurya, who in 321 BCE built one of India's greatest empires, the Maurya Empire. His grandson Ashoka carried the empire to its peak. Ashoka was once a ruthless conqueror, but after the bloody battle of Kalinga, he transformed. Witnessing the horrors of war, he embraced Buddhism and turned towards peace. He spread the message of compassion, non-violence, and tolerance not only across India but across Asia. Even today, his stone pillars with inscriptions still stand, speaking of his vision of a just society. Centuries later, another empire rose to prominence, the Gupta Empire. This was India's golden age, a period of great achievements in science, mathematics, art, and literature. It was in this age that Aryabhata wrote about the concept of zero, that Kalidasa created timeless poetry, and that temples with exquisite carvings were built. Trade flourished, scholars thrived, and Indian culture reached new heights. For centuries, the Gupta age was remembered as a shining example of prosperity and knowledge. This was the first great chapter of India's story, the journey from the mysterious cities of the Indus Valley, to the wisdom of the Vedas, to the empires of Ashoka and the Guptas. Ancient India was not only a land of kings and battles, but a land where ideas were born, ideas that shaped not just a civilization, but the world itself. As the golden age of the Guptas faded, India entered a new chapter, one marked by invasions, shifting powers, and the blending of cultures. Around the 8th and 9th centuries, northern India became vulnerable to attacks from the northwest. Waves of Turkic and Afghan invaders crossed through the mountain passes, searching for wealth and power. In the 11th century, Mahmud of Ghazni led repeated raids into India, plundering temples and cities. Soon after, Muhammad of Ghor established control that would pave the way for the Delhi Sultanate, a new Islamic dynasty that would rule much of northern India. In 1206, Qutbuddin Aibak became the first ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, and his dynasty began building monumental architecture, including the famous Qutub Minar in Delhi. Over the next 3 centuries, the Delhi Sultanate expanded and contracted under different dynasties: the Mamluks, the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, the Sayyids, and the Lodis. This was a time of both violence and cultural exchange. Persian language, Islamic art, and new styles of governance entered India, but resistance also grew from regional kingdoms. In the south, the mighty Vijayanagara Empire rose, creating a flourishing hub of trade, architecture, and culture. The great temples of Hampi still stand as a reminder of this era. But the Delhi Sultanate was only the beginning. In 1526, a new power emerged when Babur, a descendant of Timur, and Genghis Khan defeated the Lodis at the Battle of Panipat. This marked the birth of the Mughal Empire, one of the most powerful and influential dynasties in India's history. Under Akbar the Great, the empire expanded massively. Unlike many rulers before him, Akbar sought to unify India not just through force, but through tolerance. He encouraged debates between Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and Jains. He married Rajput princesses, abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslims, and built the magnificent city of Fatehpur Sikri. His rule became a symbol of stability and cultural blending. After Akbar came Jahangir, known for his love of art and nature, followed by Shah Jahan, who built perhaps the most famous symbol of India, the Taj Mahal, a monument of love in white marble. Yet beneath the beauty and prosperity, tension simmered. Under Aurangzeb, the empire expanded further but became more rigid and intolerant, leading to unrest among Marathas, Sikhs, and others. Gradually, the Mughal Empire weakened and regional powers rose again. The Marathas in the west, the Sikhs in Punjab, the Nawabs of Bengal, and the rulers of Mysore all began carving out their own spheres of power. This medieval age was a time of battles and bloodshed, but it was also a time of cultural fusion. Indian music absorbed Persian notes, Indian cuisine mixed with Central Asian flavors, and magnificent forts, palaces, and mosques stood beside ancient temples. It was an era when India's diversity deepened, setting the stage for yet another dramatic turn: the arrival of European traders, who would slowly transform into rulers. As the Mughal Empire weakened in the 18th century, new forces began to shape India's destiny. The decline of central authority gave rise to regional powers. The Marathas controlled large parts of the Deccan, the Sikhs established their rule in Punjab, and rulers like Tipu Sultan in Mysore fiercely resisted foreign encroachment. But on the horizon, a new player was entering the stage: European trading companies. At first, the Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British came to India as merchants, building coastal forts and trading in spices, textiles, and precious stones. Yet over time, trade turned into conquest. The most determined of these were the British, operating through the East India Company. In 1757, the Battle of Plassey became a turning point when Robert Clive defeated the Nawab of Bengal with the help of Indian allies. This victory gave the company control over Bengal's immense wealth and marked the beginning of British dominance in India. Over the next century, the East India Company expanded its control through wars, treaties, and manipulation, gradually reducing once mighty kingdoms into powerless states. But British rule came at a heavy price. India's industries were dismantled, its wealth drained, and millions suffered under oppressive taxation and famines. The resentment exploded in 1857 with the Great Revolt, what the British called the Sepoy Mutiny and Indians remember as the First War of Independence. Though the revolt failed, it shook the British deeply. In its aftermath, the British Crown formally took over from the East India Company, beginning the period known as the British Raj. For nearly a century, India remained under direct colonial rule. Railways, telegraphs, and modern institutions were introduced, but they served British interests more than Indian welfare. Indian society, however, was changing. Reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy fought against social evils like sati, while Swami Vivekananda and others rekindled spiritual pride. Slowly, the idea of nationalism began to spread. The Indian National Congress was founded in 1885, and by the early 20th century, the demand for self-rule had become a movement. The struggle for independence took many forms: moderate petitions, fiery revolutionary groups, and mass movements. Figures like Bal Gangadhar Tilak thundered, "Swaraj is my birthright," while Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad inspired with their courage and sacrifice. Yet, the greatest force came in the form of Mahatma Gandhi. Preaching nonviolence and civil disobedience, Gandhi united millions peasants, workers, students, and women in the fight against British rule. The Salt March of 1930, the Quit India movement of 1942, and countless protests shook the foundations of the Raj. At last, after decades of struggle and sacrifice, independence arrived on August 15, 1947, but freedom came with pain. The partition of India and Pakistan tore the subcontinent apart, displacing millions and causing one of the largest migrations in human history. Yet India emerged as a democratic republic, guided by the vision of leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, and Sardar Patel. The story of modern India is one of resilience. From a poor, divided nation in 1947, India has risen to become one of the world's largest economies and a global power. It has faced wars, poverty, corruption, and challenges of diversity, but it has also built dams, launched satellites, and become the world's largest democracy. Today, India stands at a crossroads rooted in its ancient civilization, shaped by its medieval encounters and transformed by its modern struggles. The history of India is not just the story of kings and battles, it is the story of a civilization that has endured for thousands of years, adapting, resisting, and always rising again.